Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Menachos Tzadi Beis. We're holding at the Mishnah, which is 3 lines off the top. We're going to discuss smicha, where the owner actually leans bodily on the carbon, places his hands and his weight on the head of the animal, and he does vidu, he confesses. And the Mishnah tells us that typically a karban yachid, right, smicha is exclusive to a karban yachid, a privately offered carbon, as opposed to a public carbon, where typically there is no smicha, barring 2 exceptions. It says the Mishnah, called karbanis hatzibur, all public offerings, ein ben smicha, there is no smicha performed on those karbanos, chutz min par, except for the carbon which is called par, haba al kol mitzvahs. If the community was erroneously misled by the Grand Bezdin to violate a very severe violation, unintentionally, of course, due to an erroneous ruling of the Bezdin, so they bring a special carbon, a cow, a par, which comes to address this violation, this sin. So this carbon requires smicha. And the second one is the goat that is sent off to the desert and thrown off the cliff on Yom Kippur. V'soira mishtaleach. Rabbi Shimon Omer, af so'ir avodas kechavim. He adds the carbon called so'ir avodas kechavim. So aside from the par habala mitzvahs, also the carbon that Klal Yisrael, that the tzibur brings if they sinned in matters of idol worship. And again, this was by way of an erroneous psak issued by the Bezdin. So this carbon as well needs smicha. So Rabbi Shimon agrees that the Sa'ir, he basically says there are 3, right? There is the para mitzvahs, there's the Sarah, and also Sarah Mishtalech, but as we're going to see in the Gemara, it's really only 2, because the Sarah Mishtalech gets smicha by the Kohen Gadol. He does it. According to Rabbi Shimon, that's not standard smicha, which typically requires an owner, the one actually who owns, who sponsors. But in this case, it's the Kohen Gadol, who's not really the owner, so to speak, of the carbon. We're going to see this in the Gemara. So in any case, according to both shittas, Rabbi Dan and Rabbi Shimon, smicha in a public carbon does not exist except for 2 exceptions. What are these 2 exceptions? According to Tanakama, which is Rabbi Yehuda, it's going to be the par al-kol mitzvahs and Sorah Mishtalech. According to Rabbi Shimon, Sorah Mishtalech doesn't really count. Instead, he replaces it with Sorah v'dezorah. So again, although Sorah Mishtalech does have smicha, but it's through the Kohen Gadol, who's not really the owner. And we're talking about smichas that are done by the owners. So for that, we only have 2. That's the par al-mitzvahs and Sorah v'dezorah. Okay, so that concludes this part of the Mishnah. Karbonis hatzibur do not have smicha, barring 2 exceptions. On the flip side, called karbonis hayachid, private karbonis all do need smicha, 2 need smicha, with some exceptions as well. Chutz min ha-bachar, the firstborn carbon, right, maser, 10th animal, pesach, which do not have smicha. One more halacha. So a fellow had a carbon and passed away. Now the yerush, the inheritor, the heir, the son, will process the carbon. Does he do a smicha on his father's carbon? By yerush, yes, soymech. He does smicha. It's considered like his own, so he just carries over. Maybe nesachim, he brings along the nesachim that are required for the carbon of his father. Umemer, if he chooses to make tmura, to exchange this carbon for, that process takes effect. He's considered the owner to a certain extent because he's a carryover of the father. Says the Gemara. Typically, a public carbon has no smicha, except chutz mipar, right, from that cow, habal kol mitzvahs, where there is smicha, v'sira v'dezar, avad kechavim, or a carbon which is coming to address an idol worship sin, and the community has to bring a carbon for that, and it requires smicha. Divrei Reb Shimon. It's going to Reb Shimon. These are the two exceptions: parha mitzvos and sora avodah zara. B'da'omer seirei avodas chacham ein bo en smicha. No, there's no smicha by the sora avodah zara. Ve'asmi avitachteyem. So which other carbon will take their place? Sora mishtaleach. The soyer on Yom Kippur, which is sent off, that needs smicha. Ask the Gemara, why are we looking for replacements? I mean, it almost sounds like you have to replace it with something else. It's not sufficient that you don't find the replacement instead. Meaning, who's to say we have to have two? I mean, if one doesn't work, so maybe it's just one. That has smicha. Ravina, Gemira, we have by tradition, a halacha l'mishmei Sinai, that in fact we have two exceptions, two cases of public karbonos which needs smicha. Shtei smichas b'tzibur. So if you discount one, you have to replace it with somebody else. Amalei Reb Shimon responds, how could you consider the Sora Mishtalech as one of those two? But we all know, ain't smicha el bebalim. Smicha is always performed by the owner of that respective carbon. But this Sora Mishtalech that you're citing as one of the two carbonos that have smicha there is not performed by the owners. Aaron abanav seichem bay. Only Aaron, and the Kohen Gadol and his descendants who are Kohanim Gedolim, they do the smicha. They're not the owners, so it doesn't really count as one of these two. Amalis, a reader says, no, actually, I agree, it's Aaron who does the smicha, but he's the owner. Af zes, even the Sora Mishtalech, we consider it smicha by the owner. Aaron abanav miskaprin by, because the Kohanim, they also get kapara by way of the Sora Mishtalech, just like anybody else. So they're considered owners. They're considered the bailim, the owners of the kapara, of the carbon. Therefore, it makes sense to count them as owners regarding smicha as well. So really, this machlekes links into another machlekes. A general question: who gets kapara from the Sora Mishtalech? According to Rabbi Yehuda, even the Kohanim do. Hence, they're considered owners, and their smicha are smicha by owners. Whereas Rabbi Shimon says no. Soyer HaMishtalech does not provide kapara for the Kohanim, in which case the smicha done by Aaron HaKohen or the following, the Kohanim Gedolim that follow are not considered. It's not considered smicha by way of the owner. So both positions, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, are consistent with their opinions stated elsewhere regarding the function, the purpose of the Soyer HaMishtalech. Does it accommodate the Kohanim or not? Really? So this machlekes links into that one, the Sanya. We have a brayso regarding that discussion. So it's on Yom Kippur. We have karbonos there, and it says v'chiper es migdash hakodesh. So the karbonos there are atoning for zelifnei lifnim, things that occurred inside. If somebody went into the kodesh hakadoshim when he was tamei, so it accommodates that. It atones for that. V'soil moed. Zehechel, that accommodates for mishaps, for tumah that occurred in the oil, in the hechel. Mizbeach mashmoy. Mizbeach means that if a tumah occurred, somebody was tummy touched the mizbeach, so it accommodates that. It atones for that. Yichaper, the extra word yichaper lazoris, that accommodates tumah violations that occurred in the azora. So regarding all these tumah related issues, we have two karbonos here. We have the par, the cow. We have the soyer. The par addresses the Kohanim's mishaps, and the soyer is mechaper on Yisrael. Okay, now, Pasuk continues, Kohanim. What is Kohanim? Kamashmoy. It addresses it atones for the Kohanim. Al kol amakol, what's that? El Yisrael, that's the rest of the community. The word Yichaper El Levim addresses the Levim. So in this phrase, we have sort of bundled everybody together as one community. Hushvu kulan, they're all been compared and equated l'chapara achas regarding one kapara, which means shemischapern b'sar mishtalech. The pasuk here is going to teach us that although when it comes to tumah related mishaps, that's one category of violations. Regarding that, each grouping had its own kapara. The Kohanim, right, the Yisrael. But when it comes to other general atonements, all of Klal Yisrael, whether the Kohanim, Levim, Yisrael, they all got atoned by the Sora Mishtalech. That's Rabbi Yehuda. So clearly Rabbi Yehuda holds Sora Mishtalech addresses the Kohanim as well. Hence, when they do the smicha, it is considered standard smicha procedure by way of the owner, as we said before. Rabbi Shimon Abi disagrees. He says, no, Soyer Mishtalech does not address the Kohanim's issues, in which case the smicha done by the Kohen Gadol on that korban is not smicha by owner, and therefore it doesn't count as one of the standard smichas. Rabbi Shimon Omer, yeah, I disagree. He says, Kashem Shadam Soir Hanasa Bifnim Mechaper al Yisrael Al Tumas Migdash HaKadosh. Just like the blood that's applied inside, deep inside in the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the Soir addresses Tumah-related mishaps which were done by the regular community members, by Yisrael. Kachlam Apar Mechaper Al Kohanim Al Tumas Migdash HaKadosh. Likewise, the blood of the par likewise addresses Tumah related issues by the Kohanim. But now, I disagree on the next point. Until now, we're okay. But now here goes a digression. He says like this. Regarding other general Averis, you hold that everybody is addressed by the Yisrael Mishtalech. I disagree. No, the Kohanim are addressed by the par. Different aspect of the par. The confession that's done with the par. So the blood of the par addresses one issue, Tumah issues, and the confession, the video, addresses general concerns, general Averis. But again, only of the par. Just like the video that accompanies the Soyer Mishtalech addresses any Avera by Klal Yisrael, likewise, Kach Vidu shall par mechaper al Kohanim shar Averis. The Kohanim get their kapara on other on general Averis through the video of the par, not Soyer Mishtalech. So they're not really benefiting directly from the Soyer Mishtalech. So when they do smicha, when the Kohen Gadol does smicha on the Soyer Mishtalech, it's not by way of the owner. And therefore, he doesn't consider it one of the standard smichas and doesn't really count as one of the two, smichas that apply to public karbanis. But Rabbi Shimon Habadai Hushvu. Here comes the question, but Rabbi Yehuda was sourced in a pasuk where it seemed that all, the pasuk indicated, the pasuk taught that all of Klal Yisrael are equal, are on the same plane regarding kapara, and that's what led him to his conclusion that the Soyer Mishtalech addresses all the general Averis regarding anybody. Says Rabbi Shimon disagrees in concept. Yeah, Hushvu. They all have kapara. In that way, they're all equated. The Bnei Kapara Ninu. But what's the mode, what's the vehicle of kapara? Each one has its own avenue. Miu, but still, kol chad b'chad, every group. Mechaper b'denafshei gets its own personal conduit of a kapara. Yisrael get theirs from the Soyer Mishtalech and the Kohanim from the par. So the Gemara will now sort of recap the, their machlekes, these two positions. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, Tumas Migdash HaKadosh of Yisrael Mechaper B'dam Masar Nasa B'fnem, regarding Tumah-related issues, Klal Yisrael get a kapara from the dam of the Soyer that's processed in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Kohanim Parshal Arin, and the Kohanim get their respective Tumah kapara from the par. B'shar Averis, regarding general Averis, Eilu Veilu Mechapri Bevidui Soyer Mishtalech. With Rabbi Yehuda, both Kohanim and Yisraelim get their kapara from the video of the Mishtalech. Rabbi Shimon, on this he disagrees. B'shar Averis Nami Kohanim Bevidu the par Mischapri, regarding general Averis by the Kohanim, they get it from the video of the par, not from the Soyer. Kidiktoni, as the Mishnah back in Menachos Shvuos taught us, Echad Yisrael, Echad Kohanim, Echad Mashiach, whether you're Yisrael or a Kohen or an anointed Kohen, a Kohen Gadol, they'll all get kapara from the Soyer Mishtalech. This is Rabbi Yehuda speaking. Ma ben Yisrael l'Kohanim u'Kohen Mashiach. So what is the difference between these groups regarding Tumah-related issues? The Kohanim get their Tumah atonement from the Dam Apar, and the Yisraelim get from the Dam of the Soyer B'fnim. But regarding general Averis, all groups benefit from the Soyer Mishtalech. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Shimon disagrees. Regarding the Kohanim's kapara on general Averis, they get it from the video of the par, unrelated to the Soyer. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kashem, just like Shadam, Hasor, Nasa B'fnim, just like the blood of the internal soyer, Mechapal Yisrael takes care of the tumah, mishaps by Yisrael, Kachtama Par, Mechapal Kehanim. Likewise, the Dam of the Par takes care of the tumah related issues by the Kehanim. And likewise, regarding general Averos, there's that distinction. Kashem Shevidu Shel Shem Shtalech, just like the Vidu that accompanies the Soyer Shtalech is Mechapal Yisrael, takes care of the rest of the Yisrael's mishaps, Kach Vidu Shel Par Mechapal Kehanim. Likewise, the Kehanim benefit from the Vidu of their Par, which atones for their general Averos. Here comes a new brisa, which will discuss whether, in fact, there is smicha by the Soyer Avodah Zarah, which was discussed in the Mishnah. Rosh Hashanah says that's the second public offering that has smicha. Here comes the brisa. This is a pasuk by the Par Helam Davar Shal Tziba, which again is a carbon that Klal Yisrael will bring if they erred they violated an avera, which was triggered by an erroneous psak of the Bezdin. Okay, so they bring the par and they do smicha v'samchu zikne eda. So the elders, the Sanhedrin, zikne eda is a reference to the zikanim on the chachamim, the members of the Sanhedrin. V'samchu zikne eda sidem al shapad. They do the smicha on the head of the par. They represent Klal Yisrael. We learn from here par torn smicha. Only this carbon needs smicha, but not the carbon that's brought on account of Avodah Zarah sins. That's Rabbi's opinion. So according to him, there is no smicha on the Yisor Avodah Zarah. Rab Shimon Omer, he says, no, we have to learn it differently. Par, ton smicha vaskenim. It's true the par is unique in the sense that it gets smicha by way of the Sanhedrin. They do it. Ve'ein sirei Avodah Chacham tunu smicha bazakenim el ba'arim. Yisor Avodah Zarah, however, does not need it needs smicha, but not the same fashion of smicha. It's not the zakenim, it's iron, it's the kohanim that do it. Says the Gemara, really? V'ramini, we have a kasha from a different brisa. Here we say that according to Reb Shimon, there is smicha done by the kohen. Listen to this brisa. This brisa actually will speak about the soyer mishtaleach, the one that's sent off alive, hachai, right? So the pasuk there says that Aaron, on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol does a smicha before he sends it off. We learn from hachai, only this live one, only this one. Hachai ton smicha, this one needs smicha. Ve'en siri avodas kicham tunu smicha, the Rabbi Yehuda, he says, Soyer Avodah Zarah does not need smicha. That's Rabbi Yehuda's shita, consistent with what he said before. But here comes the kasha of Shimon Omer. Chai ton smicha ba'arein. We'll learn it, but a little differently. The Soyer Mishtalech, which we're calling Chai, this extra expression is telling you there's something unique. This one needs a very unique process of smicha, ton smicha ba'arein. Chai ton smicha ba'arein, which is the Kohen Gadol. Return to base. Ve'en sirei avodas kechavim tun smicha ba'arein el vaskenim. The Soyer Avodah Zarah is different in a sense, not very drastically different, just in a sense that it doesn't need smicha by way of the Kohen. Rather, who does the smicha? The Zkanim, the Sanhedrin. Hold it. A minute ago, Rabbi Shimon himself tells us that the smicha performed on the Yisor Avodah Zarah is done by a Kohen. And here he says by the Zkanim. Amrav Sheishes. Hold it. B'tizbra. Hold it for a second. Do you really think the Hach Kamaisa Metar Tzisahi, that the first brisa was worded correctly? It can't be. Because Amrav Shimon, Smicha b'balam be'inan. Let's just recall a minute ago, Reb Shimon had told us that true smicha needs to be done by the owner. So, who's the owner of the Yisor Avodah Zarah? It's Klal Yisrael, and Bezdin is the one that represents Klal Yisrael. They're the ones that caused the chet. They're the ones that made the psak, the verdict that triggered this whole avalanche. Right? They're considered the owners. So it's going to be inconsistent with Reb Shimon's own position. Reb Shimon was arguing his point earlier. He says that the true smicha is only counts when it's the owner, and here he's telling us that that the kohen is meant to do the smicha on the Yisara by the Zara, which represents Klal Yisrael. Ela Tritzachi, right? So again, Hamar Rab Shimon, smicha b'Baal Binan, El Tritzachi. So apparently we have to sort of modify the wording in the brises so that it works. We have the first brise. Let's start with the first brise again. That's the par, right? The par el double shal tzibur. And we learn from hapar, par ton smicha. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is that only the par el double needs smicha at all. Ve'ein se'iri av etzkecham tuna smicha. The Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there is no smicha in existence at all by Sarah by the Zara. Okay, that's consistent with what we said it before. He discounts the whole smicha by the par by the Sarah by the Zara. Okay, now comes the main point. Reb Shimon Aimer. He says we can't learn from the par something regarding a soyer. It's a different thing. Rather, let's shift gears to a pasuk which speaks about a soyer. Which soyer? The one that's sent away on Kippur. And there it says hachai, an extra word. Hachai is telling you, chai ton smicha ba'aron. This one has smicha by the kohen gadol. Ve'ein siri avodas kecham tun smicha ba'aron el vaskenim. It's the opposite. Soyer avodah zara. His smicha is not performed by Aaron, by the kohen, rather by the zkenim, which fits perfectly with Reb Shimon's position that first of all, Soyer avodah zara has smicha, as he stated back in the Mishnah. That was number 2 on the list. And secondly, it's done by the owner, by the zkenim. Reb Shimon Rabbi Yehuda, and this was Reb Shimon's presentation response to Rabbi Yehuda. Unlike your position, that Soyer avodah zara has no smicha. Just the opposite. Of course they need smicha. And if you heard about something that there's no smicha, let me explain it to you. All you heard was that Aaron the kohen doesn't do the smicha in this case. Because the meat is from the word hachai, like I explained before, that all smicha is done, but it's done in a different way than the Yisara Mishtalech, which is done by Aaron. Rather, by avodah zara is done by the zkenim. Ask the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda lama lilam atinu mikra. Now, according to Rabbi Yehuda, why do we need a pasuk to exclude the Soyer avodah zara from smicha? We already have a quote, a presentation by Ravina, tells us there's a rule, right? Right, back on Amud Aleph, there's Allah Meshim Sinai. We know there's a formula that only 2 karbanos tzibur need smicha. And according to Rida, that quota has been used up; those slots have been filled. Firstly, the parallel davar shel tzibur. Secondly, the Soyer Mishtalech and Yom Kippur, which according to him was done by Aaron HaKohen, which according to him is the owner because he gets kapara from it. Right? It's all sort of a chain, a linkage. This whole thing connects one to the other. So according to the review, that's been used up. Why does he need a special pasuk now to exclude smicha from the par avodah zara? The slots have been used up. Giras Abal, you're right, he didn't really need it. It was just giras, he formulated in a way that you'll remember it. It's, he sort of tacked it to a pasuk. So basically, it's like a smachta. It's like a way to remember, to recall, to organize things. But in reality, technically, he didn't need a special pasuk for that. Ask the Gemara in the reverse. Reb Shimon. According to Reb Shimon, how do we even know, in concept, that Soyer avodah zara needs smicha? Now, I understand we had a dik from Hachai that it's not going to be done by Aaron, rather by the zkenim, but that's second base. You first have to get to the foundation. How do you even know that there's smicha in existence by Soyer avodah zara? Nafkol Mitzani, he has a brisa for that. The pasuk says, "V'samach yod al rosh hasoyer." This is actually a carbon that a nasi, a king, will bring if he sins, if he errs. He does smicha on the animal, and he didn't have to, express it so detailed. Al rosh hasoyer could have just said v'samach yod al roshay. We know it's the head of the animal. Rosh hasoyer, that extra expression is coming to include another carbon for smicha. The rabbis seir nachshan l'smicha. This is in the Mishkan. Nachshan was a nasi, right, and his other colleagues that brought karbanos. So, although it was technically a chatas, but it needed smicha. The Rabbi Yehuda, Reb Shimon Aimer, no, that's not what we learn from here. The rabbis He learns that the extra expression is coming to cover and require a smicha by Sarah Avodah Zarah. Rav Shimon would tell us, every chatas, typically a chatas does not have smicha, but barring a chatas whose blood is transported inside into the heichal and Kodesh HaKodashim to apply it there, that's a unique, a special korban chatas, and that requires smicha. Torah smicha. Okay, so according to him, Sarah Avodah Zarah needs smicha from this pasuk. Ask the Gemara, why do you have to give this whole, elongated formula? Shoyer Shimon Omer, he would say, he would teach, just simply put. He learns from this pasuk that Sarah Avodah Zarah needs smicha. This Madabaum, again, it's just so that we recall it, and we have clear what Rav Shimon had in mind, rather than include the Sar Nachshon, which doesn't have this added element of blood going inside. He referred it to the Sar Avodah Zarah. Ask the Gemara, okay, how does he know that this extra pasuk, Al Rosh HaSoy, refers specifically to the Sar Avodah Zarah? I mean, there are other candidates, other karbanos. Ve'ema Sar Nasa B'fnim. Maybe it's going on the Sar of Yom Kippur, whose blood was processed inside the Kodesh HaKodashim, and maybe that needs smicha. Says the Gemara, "Dumi the Sar Nasi." True that he's adding another korban, but it has to be comparable, somewhat comparable. It has to match up with the Sar that the Nasi brings, because that's exactly what the pasuk is talking about. Talking about the Sar that a king brings, right? The mechaper averis mitzvah yedua. Right? So, what defines the korban chata, the sor that a nasi brings? It's coming to atone for a very specific chachet that he did. And likewise, we assume that when the pasuk is expanding it to include another type, it's meant to be similar, something that matches in its function, its purpose, and its accomplishment. The Sar of the Nasi, which is Mechaper in a specific Aver. Likewise, the Sar of Avodah Zarah has that quality. It's Mechaper and Avodah Zarah, as opposed to Sar Nasa B'fnei Yom Kippur, which is Mechaper on a whole host of, not a very specific thing. It's Mechaper on Tumas, Migdash, Kodash, of Tumah issues that occurred, which aren't really defined or even known. Right? Okay, so bottom line is, according to Rav Shimon, how do we know that Sar Avodah Zarah has smicha at all? That's based on this pasuk, V'samach Yod Al Rosh HaSor, which is an extra expression, and he learns from there that something which is similar to that subject matter of that pasuk, which is the Sar of a Nasi, which is mechaper in a specific aver, whose dam is taken inside. Actually, Sar Nasi, don't think his dam is taken inside, but in any case, Rav Shimon's formula is based on something that is comparable to Sar Nasi, which is Mechaper and Avera Mitzvah Yedua, which we only have one candidate for that, so Sar Avodah Zarah. Hence, Rav Shimon concludes that the Sar Avodah Zarah, which he coins as a korban whose blood is taken inside, but the Gemara says it isn't necessarily needed. It's just a siman to recall which one he meant, and that one needs smicha. Okay? Ask the Gemara another kasha on Rav Shimon. Ulu Ravina de Amar Gemiri, Shtei Smichos B'tzibur, Kroi Lamali. According to Ravina, who presented this formula, there are two public offerings that have smicha. Inevitably, we'll know it's going to be these two, because there's no other candidate for a public korban that will need smicha. Right? The par Sara Mishtalech, according to Rav Shimon, doesn't qualify, because even though there's smicha, but he's not the owner. So all we have is the par helam davar and the Sar Avodah Zarah. Why do we need a special pasuk for it? Answer the Gemara, no, there are other candidates as well. If not for the pasuk, I would say maybe Israel. We need the halacha to tell you that it's two, but we also need the psukim to identify which two. The imikra, because if only from the psukim I would say perhaps instead of putting Sorah V'Dezara on the list, putting him in the slot, let's do a different public korban and require smicha there. The public shlamim that we bring on Shavuos with the two breads, right? Because really we had a kasha kikushi, we have a kasha that really should need smicha. Masnisnim, we had the Mishnah, the Achperka, the Chol Menachos boys. We have a parak called Chol Menachos boys. In that parak, very interesting how the Gemara refers to a Mishnah back in a different parak by relating to its the name of the parak. So the parak is called Chol Menachos boys. In that parak we have a Mishnah where Reb Shimon actually, Shimon himself, Reb Shimon, he tells us Shloisha minin tuna shlosh mitzvahs. There are three types of karbanos that are involved with three mitzvahs. And there are two of the three mitzvahs to each of those three karbanos. We discussed that back then. And we came out that the Zivchei Shalom Tzibur will in fact only have tnufa, waving back and forth. There's no smicha there. And the Kasha, why not? Why not apply smicha to Zivchei Shalom Tzibur? If we use Zivchei Shalom Tzibur to smicha, perhaps we should require smicha on those karbanis. Mikal b'chomer, based on Mikal b'chomer, as follows: Ma shal miyachid, if private shlamim shein tuna tnufa, which have no tnufa chayim while it's alive, tuna smicha chayim still need smicha. Certainly the public shlamim that need tnufa would need smicha. So that would be, logic, right? Isrich hilchasa, and that's why we need halacha mishmisena, which says no. We only have two cases of a public korban that has smicha. Evidently, we can't really. We can't apply smicha to Zivchei Shalom Tzibur. That would make it three. Now, on the other end, if only the halacha mishmisena, which tells us that it's two maximum, le'adin and hainina, I still wouldn't know which ones. I know that parallel davar, yes, that's a given because of the pasuk there that there's smicha. But what about the other slot? How do you know which one which korban to put into the second slot? Maybe it's Siri Avodah Zarah, like you're saying, or maybe it's something else. The Kamash Malon comes the pasuk and says, "V'samach yodel roish hasoyer," right? The one that we just learned, to tell you that actually the additional one is something that's comparable to the Sorah of the Nasi, which is machaber in a very specific avera, has a very definitive purpose. Kamash Mondumi the Sorah Nasi. The unknown second candidate has to be similar to the Sorah Nasi, the Mechaber al-Averis Mitzvah Yudua, which is Mechaber in a specific known Avera. And we have only one candidate to fill that slot, which is Sorah Avodah Zarah. Hence, according to Reb Shimon, we now know that the two karbanos tzibur that have smicha based on Lach Mishmisina are these two. Number one, parallel davar. Number two, Zorah V'Dezara. According to Rabbi Yehuda, however, it's parallel davar and Sorah Mishtalech, which according to him has a smicha by way of the owner, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, the owner is the kain, because he also gets kapara, so it's a regular smicha, and that counts as number two, and he discounts Zorah V'Dezara from smicha at all. Okay, so bottom line is, a korban tzibur typically does not have smicha. We have Alach Mishmisina, two. There are two exceptions, two do. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's parallel davar and Sorah Mishtalech, because according to him, Sorah Mishtalech addresses the Kehanim and atones for them, so the smicha done by the Kohen Gadol is considered smicha by owner. According to Reb Shimon, he disagrees. Of course, there's a smicha, but he's not the owner. So it's just an exception to the whole system. It's not a standard smicha. It doesn't really count as the one of the two standard smichas that we're talking about. Rather, according to him, we fill it with the Sorah V'Dezara, which is performed by the smicha, which is performed by these Kehanim, will consider the bailam of that korban. Okay, now we shift to private karbanis, who typically need smicha, except kol karbanis hayachatun smicha chutz, except mipachar u'maser pesach. How do we know? Tanu Rabbana. So if we take a look at the psukim by the karban shlamim, where smicha is discussed, we'll find the word karbanoi. He does smicha on the head of his karban. That's an exclusionary term. It's a minimizing term. We find it 3 times. So we have 3 applications for karbani. Karbani v'lei b'char, only the shlamim. That's what karbani is discussed. Karbani is mentioned 3 times by the shlamim, so it's coming to exclude a smicha by the b'char. Why would I think there is smicha she'achal v'alei? Perhaps it's based on al kamachayim. Ma shlam she'en kedushas ha'merechem, a shlam which is not holy from its source. It wasn't born holy. right, from birth. Tuna smicha still needs smicha. Of course, a bechor, which is kaddish, from birth. Sheklushas merechem ein adin. Wouldn't you agree? Sheton smicha is done. Tamalay mar comes the pasuk karbanoi. Only this one, the shlamim manat b'loy bechor. Next, karbanoi b'loy meiser. Only the shlamim not the 10th animal, which is kaddish, that doesn't need smicha. Why would I think yes? Sheyachal perhaps based on a kavachayim. Ma shlamim shein mekachin l'fnei melachreim. Shlamim is limited. It's only kaddish on its own. It doesn't spread to before to after. Tuna smicha needs smicha. Maser, of course, maser b'emisha mekadish l'fon of lachram has that expansive ability. You know, if a person erroneously counted the 9th animal as number 10, it becomes kaddish. Likewise, if he didn't count 10 as 10, rather he counted 11 as 10. Okay, so the number 11 is kaddish to a certain extent, despite the fact that it's not really number 10. So we find that this is all based on psukim, that the maser behema can expand in both directions. So it's more expansive, more pervasive type of in a positive way, of kedusha. So wouldn't you believe that it's stronger? Ein adin sheton smicha, that needs smicha. Tamalay mar comes the pasuk again, karbanai, to minimize and to define it, it's only shlamim v'lei maser. Thirdly, karbanai v'lei pesach. How do we know to exclude the pesach from smicha? Perhaps I would say the opposite. Uma shlamim she'enoi ba'amoid v'havei. Shlamim is not something you're obligated to bring. You're not, right? It's something that's offered voluntarily. Still, it needs tuna and smicha. Wouldn't you agree that a pesach ba'amoid v'havei, which is a personal obligation to do, einoi din she'eton smicha, of course it needs smicha. Tamalay mar comes the pasuk and excludes the karbanai v'lei pesach. Says the Gemara. You know, even without these exclusions, I would understand that smicha would not apply to b'chor, to maser, to pesach. Why? Because we can refute this logic. Of course, the shlamim needs smicha because look, he stands on higher ground. He has all those add-ons. Nesachim. You have to wave the chazav v'shoik, which is something you don't find by those other karbanos. Says, why you're right. You're 100% right. Kriyas machta ba'alma. On my own, I would just assume that smicha is unique to shlamim and not to the other ones, and the psukim are just sort of extra sources to sort of support this point. Says the so why do we need those psukim if they're not needed to teach us the halacha? Says the Gemara, they're coming to teach us different things. So we have karbani mentioned 3 times, right? Karbani, first one is karban chavera. You can't do smicha on your friend's karban. It has to be the owner. Karbanai, the second one, you can't do it on the guy's carbon, despite the fact that he can't do his own smicha, as we're going to see tomorrow. You can't do it for him. And finally, Karbanai teaches us every owner has to be involved. L'Rabbi is to include kol bali carbon, all the owners. Let's say it's a jointly owned carbon. Every single fellow has to come and do l'smicha, personal smicha on his carbon. Okay, so bottom line is, a carbon yachad needs smicha, aside from b'chor, maser, or pesach, and we learned that the smicha is personal and involves all the owners as well. All the best to you, and hatzlacha.